Let's recognize some of the best unplaced evening gown walks at Miss Universe 2023 because frankly, these queens deserve it. Guatemala. This is a great performance as well. Now, this style of gown is not easy to walk in, let me tell you. These beaded styles are very, very heavy. So if you watch her when she does the turn in the middle, you can tell that she's being very, very careful. She's using a lot of control in this turn and making sure that she doesn't overturn. And also she's making sure that she doesn't move that fringe too far around her legs and get caught up in it. And so that's something that I really noticed, and I was like, oh, you know, she was walking that fine line and that edge, and I totally understand what she was doing here. Now, I think that because of that, it did make her walk a little bit more restrained, and that is a risk that you take with these gown styles that are difficult to walk in. I thought the gown looked incredible on stage. I loved it. Overall, she did a really, really great job here, especially working with a gown that can be tricky to walk in. Canada was one of my favorites, and I honestly don't think that her performances for prelims disappointed. I think she did an excellent job here. She looked incredible in this evening gown. I love the styling of it. I do wish she would have held her center pose just half a second to a second longer to really just indulge and live in that moment. I feel like that could have been something that could improve this performance. But overall, I think she did a really, really great job, and I would have loved to see her advance. Vietnam, let me start by saying that I was very surprised by this evening gown choice, because if you have watched Miss Universe Vietnam, you will know that, in my opinion, they have some of the best, the most elaborate, incredible evening gowns you'll see of any of the countries that compete at Miss Universe. So amazing, amazing gowns. So I always have a high expectation for their evening gowns. Now, I love their title holder's gown last year for prelims and for finals. Both really, really great options. Now, when I saw her step out in this option, I was honestly disappointed. I felt like it was so simple in comparison to what I know Vietnamese designers can create for their Miss Universe contestants. But aside from the gown, I'm gonna give Miss Vietnam some credit here because she really, really worked that fabric, and that is not easy to do. Just the handling of how she was spinning and throwing the fabric and making the gown even more than what it was, I thought was quite impressive. So she gave us what, like 3 spin turns during this performance? My goodness. And they were all executed so well. I wish that she would have brought this type of precision though to the swimsuit competition. But I still think she should be recognized for a great evening gown performance. Angola was everything for me. Honestly, well done to whoever helped her put this together, because honestly, it takes a village. The hairstyling was perfect, I think, with the neckline of this gown. She had a great performance. Frankly, this would have scored very, very well with me. Yes, I know the sheer metallic gowns are overdone, as many people say, okay, we know. But I think that she still looked so beautiful in this evening gown and had the performance to complement it. Indonesia. So for her swimsuit performance, I need to mention this really quickly. Her neck had a lot of tension in it. And when we carry all of that tension in our neck, it makes us seem very nervous on stage when we should be projecting confidence. And I feel like she got a lot more comfortable for the evening gown competition, which is why for me, it's one of the best unplaced performances this year. She relaxed a lot more. She did a phenomenal job, I thought, here. Now, if she would have had that swimsuit performance to really complement this, we could have seen her, I think, moving on in finals. Slovakia, oh, she is just so beautiful. She was one of my pre-preliminary favorites, okay? I love her. Now, I really wish that Slovakia would go with a more like Miss Universe gown, at least for the preliminary competition. I feel like they often wear, I talked about this, where I feel like a lot of European countries, they will send their contestants in gowns that are more like princessy gowns, full skirts, ball gowns. And that's basically what we were seeing here. But I will say it was smart to at least make the skirt sheer to give it a little bit of a sexier look. Now, aside from that, let's focus on the performance, because I thought that she was fantastic here. She was elegant. She was changing up those facials. She looked well practiced in this gown. She was one of my favorites. I just think that her swimsuit performance needed to be a little bit stronger. She was falling out of some poses there, and she really had to be stable in those heels, I think, to advance. And of course, you know, needed, I'm sure, a great interview score as well. Mexico, gorgeous gown style on her. It wasn't quite something that we haven't seen before, but in fact, these little micro cutouts that we saw reminded me a lot of the evening gown that Catriona won her national title in. And for that reason, I was like, oh, I love that. I think it's so pretty. She had this beautiful raised halter neckline. I thought she looked great. Now, I think the walk itself, she was swaying the head a little bit more than I wanted to see. But gosh, the hair, the makeup, everything was so, so beautiful as well. And honestly, I think that it all has to come together at Miss Universe. It's not just the walk, it's not just the pose, the turn, the hair, the makeup, it's everything. And so I was seeing a lot of things that I really liked from her here, but I do feel like she needed a stronger swimsuit performance to advance into finals. Lebanon was stunning. Oh my goodness. I think overall, when we look at her swim versus her evening gown performance, that evening gown was stronger. I do think that her swim walk needed more work, and I really wasn't sure if she was going to place, because I have to say, this contestant, she has a face card that does not decline, okay? She's absolutely stunning, but we know that at Miss Universe, that's sort of like the bare minimum, right? At this competition, and they really want to know, what else are you bringing? Now, I think that this evening gown was beautiful on her, but it did really inhibit her walk. And I thought that she was doing such a great job handling the heavy fabric of this gown. Like, you can see that she was not at her best, I believe, because of the weight of this gown. But just imagine if she had a gown that allowed her to move more freely. I really think that she would have had an even stronger performance and caught the attention of the judges. But overall, she still looked so beautiful here, and I was so happy to see her do well. Dominican Republic, although I did not love this evening gown for her, I felt that it was kind of translating teen a little bit. I do, however, really, really love her walk and her performance, but once again, just like in her swimsuit performance, she walked off stage a little bit early and she was missing key moments with the camera, and you can't miss those moments at Miss Universe. But regardless of that, I still wanted to include her in this episode because I feel like you can still see that she is really, really great on stage and has such wonderful presence. Laos, I think, did a phenomenal job with her spin turn in the middle, especially because at the end of it, she slows down her pace just a little bit before she continues moving forward. And I love those subtleties in a walk. I think that she did a really great job here, and she represented her country very well. Ecuador, for me, stunning, absolutely gorgeous. I feel like the performance was there. I love the soft curls that she had. It wasn't over hairsprayed. The gown itself was stunning on her. I can only imagine how it looked in person. I absolutely loved her. I just felt like she really flew under the radar here. Something had to have happened in an interview. I don't know what it was, either that or she was right out of that finals night group. She was incredible here. One of my favorite performances of the night. St. Lucia is somebody that caught my attention, and I think she has a pretty safe evening gown performance, but it's still a good evening gown performance. I think that this could have been even better if she focused on lengthening her steps. It felt like she was really holding everything back and she was shortening all of her steps, but really what looks so great on stage is when we all work on these long, big strides. It's beautiful, it lengthens everything, it just draws more attention to a contestant. Panama. I talked about her in my swimsuit episode. I feel like she delivered such strong performances for preliminary, but there's something about this gown, I didn't feel like it was helping her. I didn't feel like it was doing anything for her to help her stand out. Now, regardless of that, she was doing an incredible job here for the evening gown competition, and that of course should matter at Miss Universe. But because it is so competitive, not only, I mean, does everything have to be perfect, right? Like your hair, your makeup, your confidence, your walk, your poses, your turns, all of that stuff. But I do think that a unique evening gown that is well suited to you doesn't hurt. It only helps. Singapore honestly surprised me, and I talked about this. I was like, wow, I just like didn't expect such a great performance from her, just because we don't usually hear about Singapore, right? It's not a sash factor country, so she's not really going to be on everybody's radar. I really like the performance. I feel like, yes, it could have been a little bit more improved, right? I think she would have needed her own like iconic turn or pose or something that makes her stand out a little bit more. But regardless, it was still a really great gown walk, in my opinion. I loved the gown on her, poses, facials. She did a really good job here. Argentina, gorgeous. The red is really a power color. I really like the extra arm sash that was wrapped around her. Very similar to what we saw Andrea Mesa wear for finals night when she won Miss Universe in 2020. This was a great performance. However, I do think that for evening gown, the hair flip might have been a little bit too much. You may not have noticed it. When I went back, I saw it and I thought, oh, I forgot that she did that extra little hair flip. And I just don't think it's necessary for the evening gown competition, but she still had a great performance overall. I was so happy to see Cambodia in a gorgeous Miss Universe worthy style gown. Honestly, they have really been working for those placements in the past few years, and I feel like gowns are what have been preventing them from moving forward just because it is so competitive. Now, this gown style was amazing, but for her pose, I really think that she should have switched to the popped legs. It makes a lot more sense for the placement of the slit for her. I do think that this performance, it was good. Can it be better? Yes. I think that she needed just a little bit more energy, but I still want to recognize it because I can see so much growth for this country, and I would love to see them place within the next few years. Bolivia. I understand the styling choice for Bolivia because there's a lot going on with this gown. The color, the sleeves, the neckline, I totally get it. But I do feel like that sock bun style, it's a lot more like 2012, 2011. That's when we were really seeing that style emerge in pageantry. And I feel like right now it's just not the go-to move. I actually would have preferred this look if she just would have kept her straight hair from the swimsuit competition and pulled it back off of her shoulders. Now, if the layers in her hair did not allow for this and they were to fall forward, I much would have gone for a more minimal, slicked back middle part bun style because I feel like that would have been a more modern take on the bun and it really would have showed off the gown. Now, aside from the styling, pay attention to this performance, and that's what really matters in my opinion. And I feel like this performance was very deserving of a great score. I can only guess that something in her interview is what prevented her from moving forward in finals. Those were some standout unplaced evening gown performances for me for Miss Universe 2023. I hope that you'll also check out my episode dedicated to these swim performances as well. I think that you'll enjoy that one. Now, if there's anything else that you want to see on the channel, let me know. Just leave that in the comments below. I really look forward to hearing from you. I hope that you chose to subscribe, and then you'll be back for a lot more episodes.